שפת אדוני דבר פי וברך חובס השם קודשו לעולם ועד ואנחנו נברך יה מהטוב אל עולם הללויה ובא לציון גואל ושבב שב יעקב נאום אדוני ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל וקורא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלכות כבודו ותישאני רוח ושמע אחרי כל רעש גדול ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו בריך יקרא אדוני מאתר בית שכינתי אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ברוך הגבר שבטח באדוני ויונה יבטחו בטחו באדוני ידי עד כבירא צור עולמים ויבטחו בך ידי שמך ילעוז עבדושך אדוני אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ילמד יבחרותי וימליך מלכותי וחייכון ימיכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגולה וזמן קריב יאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבם בורך לעולם יומי ומיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו לעילם כל בחרתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תמירן ביומה ויאמרו אמן ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון למרוב חסדך נהנה באמת ישך ויהי בנשוא אהרון ויאמר משה קומה אדוני ויפוצו אויביך ינוסו משנאיך מפניך כי מציון תצא תורה דבר אדוני מירושלים ברוך שירתכם תורה לעמו ישראל בקדושתו גדלו לאדוני איתי ורמה שמו יחדה לך אדוני הגדולה והגבורה והתפארת והנצח וההוד כי חוב השמיים והארץ כי חוב השמיים והארץ לך אדוני המלאכה ימין Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishachavu Le'adam Ragav Kadoshu Romemu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ishachavu Le'ar Kodsho Adonai Eloheinu. All right, so you may be seated. We're going to be reading Parshat Toldot, 146, which is on page 269 in the daily Siddur, or the beginning on page 146 of the Parsha in your Eitz Chaim Chumash. I'll put it up over here so we'll read it.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
well, just so you can have as much room as you need.
Okay.
Is there anyone who would like an aliyah? Great, all right, come on up. What's your Hebrew name?
Shoshana.
Shoshana Bat, what are your parents' names?
Bella Moshe. Bella.
Vavela Moshe, Lilia Rishon Baruch, Shetan Torah L'Moisrael, B'Kedushato.
Atem hadaveikim b'Adonai Elohechem Chaim Kochem Hayom.
Baruch et Adonai Barach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Barach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bahar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Just hold that for me, Rosa. Amen. V'yele toledot Yitzchak ben Avraham. Avraham holidet Yitzchak. Vayi Yitzchak ben 40 shana bekachto et Rivka. V'petuel ha'arami mipadan Aram achot Lavan ha'arami lo lisha. Vayetar Yitzchak l'Adonai l'nochach ishto ki akara hi. Vayeter lo Adonai v'atar Rivka ishto. Vayidro tesu abanim bekirba. Vatomer im kain lamazeh anochi vatelech lidrosh et Adonai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'hayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Anybody like the second Aliyah? Elise, you want it? You want the third? Sure. Great. Ta'amad. Malka bat Moshe v'masi l'Aliyah hashniya. Rosie, you can go stand next to Joey on that side.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamavorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayomer Adonai la Shnei go. I lost my place here.
That was right. Shnei goyim.
Yeah, no, but
That's right here. Shnei goyim.
Vayomer Adonai la Shnei goyim b'vitnech u'shnei le'umi mi'me'aychi paredu u'lomi lomi emat s'varav yavod sa'ir vayim le'u yameha la'ledet b'hinei tomim b'vitnaha vayitzeh harishon admoni kulo ki aderet se'ar vayikru shemo Esav v'acharachin yatsa achiv v'yado chesed ba'akev Esav vayikra shemo Yaakov v'yitzchak ben 60 shana b'ledet otam.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod. Amit Yaakov. Ben Yehudit. La'aliyah shlishit.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Le'olam Ba'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayigdalu hana'arim v'hi Esav ish Yodei Atzart ish Sadeh v'Yaakov ish Tam Yoshev Ohalim v'Yehav Yitzchak et Esav Kitzayid b'fiv Rivka ohevet Yaakov v'Yased Yaakov Nazid v'Yavo Esav min Sadeh v'hu Oyev v'Yomer Esav el Yaakov Haliteni na min ha'adom ha'adom hazeh ki Oyev Anochi Al ken karashamo Edom, Vayomer Yaakov, Michra Chayom et Bechoratecha li, Vayomer Esav, Hine, Anochi holech lamut, V'lamazel li Bechorah, Vayomer Yaakov, Hishava li Chayom, Vayishava lo, Vayimkor Bechorato Yaakov, V'Yaakov Natan le Esav, Lechem unzid adashim, Vayochel vayesh vayakom vayelach vayivez Esav et habechorah vayi ra'av va'aretz milvad hara'av harishon Asher hayavi me Abraham. Vayelech Yitzchak el Avimelech melech plishim gerara. Ve'ira love Adonai vayomer al tered Mitzrayma shechon ba'aretz asher omar elecha gor ba'aretz hazot ve'emicha v'yavarchecha ki lecha uzaracha etena kol haratzot to'el v'hakimoti et hashvuah asher nishbati li'Avraham avicha v'hir beiti et zaracha kechochvei hashamayim v'natati l'zaracha et kol haratzot to'el v'yitbaruchu v'zaracha kol goyei haaretz ekev asher shama Avraham b'koli v'yishmor mishmarti mitzvotai chukotai v'torotai.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chaye olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Someone feel comfortable lifting the Torah? Jake, you want to lift the Torah? Brian, can we use one of those chairs behind? Does anybody want to wrap the Torah? I can wrap the Torah. Okay, great, awesome. Come on up. All right, please rise. Vezot HaTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. Eitz Chaim. Joey, can you just make sure it's tight? Zikim v'tomechei ameu shar Eitz Chaim hi lemachazikim v'tomechei ameu shar Tivote Shalom Deracheha Darcheino Vechon Tivote Shalom Yaina Yanaina 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 Page 221.
יעלו את שם אדוני, כי נשגב שמו לבדו, הודו על ארץ השמיים. גם לעמוד תהילה לכל חסידיו בני ישראל קרבו, הללויה. ודוד מזמור לנו טוב, זלזל. משלם רשך ונסו כתקל ויבוא מלך הכבוד, יוזם מלך הכבוד. גיבור מלחמה, ובנוחה יומה השבוע נעים כי לקח טוב נתתי לכם תורתי אל תעזובו את חיים היא למחזיקים בה ותומכי עמושה דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום השיבנו אלינו אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו כקדם יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויאמר דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ויאמר וחיי לכל בית ישראל בגליו זמן קריב אמרו אמן יהי שמי רב ומבורך לעולם ויאמר אומיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמר קדושה בריחו לעילה מכל בחרתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה תמירן ביומה ואמרו אמן.
Does on page 223. not yet finished your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. Rabbi Birnbaum will begin the repetition for us on page 223, and then we'll join together for the Kedusha on page 225.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'lei avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'lei Yaakov Elohei Sarah v'lei Rivka v'lei Rachel v'lei Leah El HaGadol HaGibor v'Norah Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tov Mikonei Yaakov V'zocher Chasdei Avot Mevigo El Bnei Bnei Man Shmo B'Yava Melech Ozer Fokeinu Moshiach Magen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham Fokei Tzarah אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיימי תמת תורה ולהושיע משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם מכלכל חיים בחסד וחיים ברחמים רבים סומך נופלים ורופא חולים מתיר אסורים קיים אמונתו לשני עפר מי כמוך בגברות ומידו מלך ממית ומחיים עצמי ישועה ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים נקדש את שמך בעולם כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום ככתוב היד נביאך קורא זה אל זה ויאמר קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלכות כבודו לעומתם ברוך יאמרו ברוך יבוא אדוני ממקומו ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון דור ודור הללויה לדור ודור נגיד גודלך נצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לאמוש עולם ועד כי המלך קרוב וקדוש אתה ברוך אתה אדוני אל הקדוש אתה אחד ושמך אחד ומי כי עמך ישראל ומי כי עמך ישראל גוי אחד אחד בארץ תפארת גדולה ועטרת ישועה יום מנוחה וקדושה לעמך נתת יום מנוחה וקדושה לעמך נתת אברהם יהגל יצחק ירנן יעקב ובניו ינוחו בו יעקב ובניו ינוחו בו מנוחת אהבה ונדבה מנוחת אמת ואמונה מנוחת שלום ושלווה והשקט ובטח מנוחה שלמה שאתה רוצה בו יכירו בניך וידעו כי מלכה מנוחתם ועל מנוחתם יקדישו את שמך אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו רצה במנוחתנו קדשנו במצוותיך ותן חלקנו בתורתך סבנו מטובך ושמחנו בישועתך ותהא ליבנו אבך באמת ואכילנו אדוני ביחד ברצון שבת קודשך וינוחו בם ישראל מקדשי שמך ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת רצה אדוני עלינו בחסות תפילתם השבת עבודה לדביר ביתך ואישי ישראל תפילתם יעבוד קבל ברצון תהילו רצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך ותחזינה עינינו בשובך לציון ברחמים ברוך אתה אדוני המחזיר שכינתו לציון מודים אנחנו לך שאתה אדוני ולתנו לעם ועד צור חיינו מגן אישנו אתה לדור ודור נודה לך וספר תהילתך על חיינו המסורים בדרך ואנשותינו עבדות לך ואנשך שבך ימנו ונתתך ותבדך שבכל הידיך ורצריים הטוב כי לך ולרחמך ולרחם תהילתם החסרך מעולם כי הבינו לך ויהו כולם יתברך ונאמר שמך מגן תמיד לעולם ועד וכל החיים יודוך סלע ועלו את שמך באמת ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע ברוך אתה אדוני הטוב שמך לכונן להודות, שלום רב הישראל עמך ועל כל יושבי תבל תשים לעולם, כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום, וטוב בעיניך. לברך את עמך ישראל וכל עת כל שעה בשלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני, המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום. צדקתך צדק לעולם ותורתך אמת, צדקך להם עד מרום, אשר תעשה גדולות אליהם מי כמוך, צדקתך קרא על משפטך תהום רבה, אדם והמה תושיע אדוני, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר דברי חירותי, וימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וימיכון. ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלל זמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רב המבורך, לעולם ויאמר ומיה. יתברך וישתבח, ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה, ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו, לעולם כל בחרתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם ביומה ויאמרו אמן. קבל צלטון ואתון לך ישראל, כל עמם לישמעיה ויאמרו אמן. יש שלום רב ושמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל. כי המלכות שלך ימיה תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך למלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר וידענו למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא ידענו אחד ושמו אחד.
Mourner's Kaddish, page 232.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויאמר דברי חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ויומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגולה וזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רב המבורך לעולם ויאמר ומיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי קודשה בריחו, לעולם עם כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירם ביומה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רב מן שמיה, בחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן.
Amen. Yeshua Koach to Rabbi Berenbaum and to Marshall for reading Torah. We'll give people a few minutes to go and get some food and take a seat. We will come back to do some teaching. This is always my favorite part of the week, where you all discover whether or not I can tell time. We'll start the teaching at 4:35 to give Jake a full half an hour before we do Mariv and Havdalah. So grab some food, and we'll take like 12-ish minutes to schmooze and to eat, and then Jake will start it in about 12 minutes. That was pretty good math, I think. Thanks. Appreciate the confidence.
I didn't even look. I trusted you.
Michael, where did you go? Was this low for you? It wasn't? I brought it down for the kids earlier today, and I brought it back up, but I can't tell if it's the normal height or not. Jake, will you just come stand here and see if it's too low for you? If it's easy to do so, you guys can move the table out to go from both sides. Just, yeah, stand, it doesn't matter.
This is fine.
It is
too
fine?
low? Is that what you're concerned?
Yeah, because I brought it down for the kids earlier today, and I just can't tell if I cranked it all the way back.
I was wondering what
That's over
what the
here.
implement is.
It's just not easy.
You know.
Now it's going up.
I mean, it's fine.
Oh no.
Did you what? Oh no, what?
I brought it. No, I said, how about now?
Oh, it's great.
Okay.
Yeah. I did notice something though that I hadn't. I mean, this thing's gorgeous,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
I had for a second there with the yacht. I was a little concerned, like against the slat, with the paper against the slat. I was a little worried
The
that it could
paper, though?
puncture with the parchment.
But
I
it's
was
not,
worried that
there's
it
no,
could puncture.
yeah, it
Like,
shouldn't.
like it shouldn't, and you shouldn't press hard enough that it does.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, I was like, oh, like it's,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you're
yeah.
pointing a metal thing over paper that's being
Right,
held taut
right.
over
That's
that.
an interesting, like if you push too hard in.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
interesting.
So-
Yeah.
But also, I like that, you know, it's not rolling around.
Right.
Like
Well,
natural.
So it's funny, someone asked me the other day if we were getting a cover for it, and I was like, no, definitely not.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
Because then now it like can stay in the grooves. We are gonna get a cover for when you have to roll it, because it's hard to roll. But we roll it like twice a year.
Yeah.
We don't, because the Torah that's in here just is used in daily minyan. It's not, so we're gonna get one of those like covers that goes on like a dining room table, you know, that just like unfolds. So it'll live in a cabinet, and then if we need it, we need it, and if not, not. But
I've done like a lot of rolling at HEC over the years.
yeah,
I mean, because it works like that.
yeah, sure.
And, you know, all the semester, I'm like,
Right.
it's in the Torah, there was like a rapid test. You know,
Needing to, yeah. No, totally. Yeah, no, it's been fun to use. I mean, today when I had the kids and I could bring it down for them, they were like, whoa, because they can be seen now, like davening, which is great. It goes really low. It goes, no, I'm not going to show you because it takes forever, but it was probably down to here.
It's very cool.
Yeah. I mean, the idea is that it's low enough so that if someone's in a wheelchair, they can pull up to it and also be seen. So my brother did the measurements of that, but yeah.
Cool, cool.
I like that. I'm all for accessibility.
Sorry?
I'm all for accessibility for everyone.
The handles are coming soon, probably in the next few weeks.
Oh,
To the-
right now you just stick your fingers in them.
Yeah, they're bets that go like this.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then also the Ner Tamid,
Yeah.
which is like an infinity sign. You won't see it, but it'll light up that way.
From behind the.
Yeah, it'll illuminate the whole thing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, pretty.
Hey,
Let me see what it looks
Yeah.
like.
Good. Today was just a lot because I went from Tot Shabbat through the learning, and it was just like back to back to back to back, and it was just like
Now, are we gonna get,
really intense. Yeah.
we're gonna get to earthquake-proof the Torahs, meaning a little thing that you put in front of them, told them in case of an earthquake?
Yeah, so I asked about that, and they are still putting in the things that keep it secure, not like a chain, but the things that keep each Torah secure in its spot. But when I mentioned it to someone, they said we don't have that in the sanctuary either. So
We have it downstairs.
no, I know. So I talked to Mark about it. He's pretty convinced that they wouldn't topple over enough to open up the doors, but especially with the little slats that are going to go in. But we're talking about it. It's definitely a conversation that's being had. And I also, when Jonah's done with the Ner Tamid, Michael, I'm going to have him contact you about the Omer thing if you still want to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We should get something that matches the rest of it.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and we can put it up even. It could be on the wall.
Yeah. I'm saying we use that side or that side, whichever will look better on.
Yeah, I don't think we would put it over there because we wouldn't want to mess with the wires that are in the wall for the air conditioning.
Oh, yeah, maybe over there might be better.
I also like the Beitenu picture frames.
Thank you. Yeah. They're good for people learning the Siddur. I branded them for Beitenu, and I changed the language a little bit for Betha, but my friend who works at Addis Israel in DC actually made them. It was her idea, and then I just kind of modified them for us. Yeah, coming together piece by piece. We're also getting a new clock, which is like the biggest machloket of the century. But
For in here?
it'll be okay, yeah.
That clock,
As atomic.
Yeah.
I know,
atomic.
I know.
It's gotta be on that wall under all circumstances.
Believe me, I've been told all the stipulations. Yeah. I'm just gonna try to get a wood clock that matches the rest of the room.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of an eyesore currently.
Because it doesn't match.
Yeah, just like the one thing that doesn't match right now.
Yeah. Maybe this one could go, we move to the back wall of the sanctuary, I was thinking, because we don't have one in there at all today.
I don't know that there's a part of the ceiling where a clock could go.
No, I mean above those doors that open to the
Is there enough of a wall though?
yeah, it looks like it. We measure it sometime and find out.
Yeah, maybe.
That clock won't work then.
Oh, won't reach the more.
It only works on the south
The
side.
south side, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we tried it elsewhere and they found out.
No, never.
That's because it's
Yeah. Yeah, my watch is atomic too, and I put my watch, thankfully my bedroom on the east side of my building. Facing
Right.
Colorado, where the signal comes from.
right.
That's where I put my watch on top of that.
I mentioned to someone that we were gonna get a new clock,
Right.
and they said, but it needs to be atomic. And I was like, all right, I think we'll
I've
be
seen
okay.
the atomic ones. I've seen those. They're on Amazon.
Yeah, it's the exact time. So because we're in here, Visman for everything, it needs to be correct, which I totally understand. It just was a very funny, that person was very adamant about it. So, okay, all right.
I just take Greenwich time minus 8 hours.
Right, but the idea is that if something were to happen, this clock will be correct, whereas like if you were to get a clock that's digital, for example, and the power went out, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They make digital ones that are battery powered to hang on the wall too.
Well, I believe this one is.
Those was analog.
Oh, you mean digital?
Yeah.
Did you say digital?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't think we'll have a anyway, whatever. This is the like one thing that I'm.
Well, you can frame it, you can put it in a different frame.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
All you have to
We'll see.
do is get one frame.
Get one frame.
Put it over the
That's interesting.
yeah, put it over the existing frame. Cover it.
Interesting. My current project is tables for Daily Minion.
Right.
Very, very hard to find. These aren't the ones we use. We use tables that are about half the width of these.
Right, yeah.
And people want thicker ones, wider ones. And I'm trying to find ones that have like space in them so that you could put a Siddur or a talis bag or something. But they have to be able to fold up.
Well, we have lockers.
No, I know. I'm just trying to find something that might
We argued,
maximize space.
we argued for many years to get lockers.
Right, I know. And now they're there with a plaque. No, we'll see. It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun little project.
Just don't take the lockers away.
I will not. Anything outside of this room, I am not touching. This room has been enough of headache. I'm not touching anything else.
He's coming on Wednesday.
This is one thing that they don't teach you in rabbinical school. Is renovations.
Right.
It's really, and yet we all do it. All
I thought you
rabbis
were
do
gonna say
it.
shul politics, which
Oh no, that you.
Right.
Michael, it's a delight to hear you down in Minha, such a unusual synagogue, where the whole mood of the liturgy changes from Shabbat morning musically. It's really spell.
Yeah. Well, only you can hear it in my music. But I tried.
Okay, maybe we'll get started. Are you okay with that?
Yeah,
You can bring your coffee.
you know, that,
Or
what
tea,
it doesn't
or-
have is a,
Coffee holder?
a couple.
No, but it does because you can put it right here. Believe me, I've found all the tricks. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna get started so that Jake has a good amount of time. I hope that this doesn't embarrass him, but Jake and I were just having a conversation in my office, and he mentioned something about Thanksgiving, and I'm not going to give it away because I'm sure he's going to talk about it, but he mentioned something about Thanksgiving and coming to shul And I said, tell me more. I don't understand what you're talking about. And he told me, and I said, you have to teach this for Sudash Lishit. And I said, I'll be there. Don't worry. So I'm very excited that we get to learn with Jake. Some of you learned with Jake over the summer when we were going through the different series of having rabbis from around Los Angeles come and teach. Jake is a Pressman parent. He has a kid and a half. At Pressman, and he has 2 kids, but one of them is not enrolled yet at Pressman. And is also a rabbinical student at HUC. So Jake is going to be teaching, and we will have chances to be interactive, but also want to allow Jake to get through his material. So Jake and everybody.
Yeah.
And you can put your coffee here if you want.
And also, just another piece of bio for context is that before the rabbinical school thing, I was I worked in as a political speechwriter and historian, which sort of gave rise to this interest in Thanksgiving. So I've got text that we'll look at, but I just wanted to start by asking, what do we know about Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? Where does it come from? Why Thanksgiving? This is not a trick question. Just I want to hear where we're starting from.
Well, Thanksgiving's a proclamation.
Okay. Proclamation, that's right.
It's
Made by?
made by the President of the United States.
Yeah,
President of the
that's
United
right.
States every year.
Yeah.
And one of the bad ceremonies the presidents have put up with is pardoning a turkey.
That's right.
Which sounds a little bit like the sacrificial decision of Yom Kippur.
Yeah.
The other thing is we were told that the Pilgrims gave Thanksgiving before their first winter.
Mm-hmm. I love how you put it. We were told.
That's correct.
Yeah. All right, that's a pretty good summary. Yeah. What do you?
Yeah, I think there's generally collectively an image of Native Americans and pilgrims kind of eating happily and without conflict together on a table outside somewhere.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie.
That's right. And you mentioned presidential proclamation, and we've mentioned the sort of the first Thanksgiving, the Pilgrims and the Native folks eating together. Do we have a sense of when Thanksgiving started? Any guesses?
We learned, just for those of you who were not in the library with me today,
Mm.
we learned why turkey was justified as kosher. Which is that birds were according to the custom. And that is birds, what type of birds were kosher were according to the custom. Turkey was called Tarnagola Hodu, and the assumption was the Jews in India ate turkey, and consequently it was declared as kosher.
But I'm not sure, it's not a requirement to necessarily have to put turkey at Thanksgiving. It's not.
It's not halacha.
Well, there's no halacha around thing. There's virtually. I spent a little bit of time trying to look through the CJL, like the Chuvot on Thanksgiving, and there's like nothing there.
I know that the turkey, traditionally the big thing on Thanksgiving is the meal. But it's supposed to be about giving thanks for what we have.
Yep.
And yeah, they're
Quite a bit like
turkey if you don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the Thanksgiving halakha is eating matzah and karpas and, having a meal, Passover.
You mean that like that Seder occupies the same
Occupies the same.
place for us? That's a really interesting thought.
Yeah, because
But as far as time period, the question you asked,
Yeah.
I'm thinking Jamestown.
Okay. So 17th century.
Yeah, it started in Jamestown, which is the first American settlement.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 1620.
Joey, did you want to say?
most of them like my students.
Yeah, certainly. So, lots of threads here. We're gonna talk. Oh yeah, please.
It seems like a lot of our holidays have a thankful theme to them.
You mean our like Jewish holidays, or you mean the American holidays? Yeah.
Sorry, Jewish holidays wasn't too clear. Like Passover, as you mentioned, is like we're thankful that we escaped slavery,
Yeah.
and then Hanukkah has that kind of thing too, where because we thought people was only the last one to be in, the lasting 8.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing there.
So something you're pointing out, both together, is this idea of sort of the specific thankfulness, right? thankful, and do we have a sense of Thanksgiving, American Thanksgiving? Is it a specific thankfulness or an abstract thankfulness?
I always thought it was a harvest thing.
Harvest, okay. That's certainly one of the things.
And the rhythm of it, especially in the north, is that it's the last moment before the onset of the long winter.
Yeah. Before the onset of the long winter.
I think as kids, we're taught really not PC, but we're taught that this was the way that we were grateful for the land that we now live on.
Yeah.
Which, of course, then when you get older and learn the actual story, you recognize is problematic on a lot of levels. But I think that's the gratitude that we're supposed to at least imagine, the specific gratitude.
Yeah.
And then I think around many tables, people will talk about like more global, so to speak, like familial gratitude and gratitude for the lives that they have, not necessarily
Yeah.
the gratitude of homeland and I don't know, America.
Yeah. So, okay, yes, there's both. There's also, we're hearing harvest, we're hearing homeland in America, we're hearing a general gratitude. We've talked about what's sort of known as the Great Dinner. The Great Dinner myth is the myth of the first Thanksgiving, right? Is the Great Dinner myth. So just to talk about for a moment what we're not going to talk about, I'm going to pass these out. So Thanksgiving emerged. It preceded the American colonialism or the European colonization of America. Thanksgiving emerges from long-standing Protestant traditions that especially emerged in the Church of England that are not uncommon if you look at Jewish history. That were it was not as an annual thing, but as a specific one-time call out. We're thankful for this thing, and we've appointed a day of Thanksgiving. We've won this war, so we'll have a day of Thanksgiving. We've had an exceptional harvest this year, we'll have a day of Thanksgiving. And that made its way over with the European settlers in the 17th century. Pardon me. In a moment, we'll look at the very first Thanksgivings, but I want to talk about, we've come to this place in our culture where it's sort of impossible to extract Thanksgiving as a concept from this mythology around the first Thanksgiving that we've all come to know. So I just want to dispense with that a little bit and move on. And so this is from, this first entry here is just from a wonderful book called This Land is Their Land. It's a historian at GW who wrote about the mythology. He doesn't actually talk about what Thanksgiving is. He spends a lot more time on what Thanksgiving isn't and the mythology and actual history around that the so-called first Thanksgiving, the Great Dinner. And this comes from his introduction, and I'll read it sort of quickly. This mythology, as this is like a 500-page book, and I pulled something from the introduction that sort of summarizes where the mythology emerged. And so I want to talk about, we'll identify the myth and then we'll move backwards. The Pilgrim Saga had utility in the nation's culture wars. So we're talking about mid-19th century, early to mid-19th century, that it's starting. It was no coincidence that authorities began trumpeting the Pilgrims as national founders amid widespread anxiety that the country was being overrun by Catholic and then Jewish immigrants, unappreciative of America's Protestant democratic origins and unfamiliar with its values. Depicting the Pilgrims as the epitome of colonial America also served to minimize the country's longstanding history of racial oppression. So now we're moving forward about a century. At a time when Jim Crow was working to return the blacks to the South as close to a state of slavery as possible, and racial segregation was becoming the norm nearly everywhere else. Though Americans eventually assumed that the Thanksgiving holiday and myth had marched together in an unbroken succession since 1621, those traditions were very much products of white Protestants, particularly Northerners, asserting their cultural authority over European immigrants and Americans of color in the 19th and early 20th centuries. This myth permitted colonial New England, and by extension, modern America, to become seats of freedom, democracy, Christianity, and plenty.
time when you gorge yourself and eat turkey and have family together. I mean, no one really, I think, looks at it as a religious observance.
But
you know?
I don't totally agree with that because, with a lot of holidays, like I've gone to Passover Seders that go beyond, our time in liberation from Egypt.
Yeah.
They try to relate Passover to the modern day, that there's still quite a people that live in bondage.
Yeah.
All kinds of bondage, including bondage to drugs and medications and, all kinds of bondage. I've been to observances where people try to make it, they try to show some relevance to it. They try to make it more than just a big dinner, so you can look at Passover as just a big dinner, but I'd rather it be something other than a big dinner, we eat big dinners every single night of the year if we
Yeah.
want to. So, there's flexibility in Thanksgiving to make it as relevant to our times as you want to,
Yeah.
beyond just being a big dinner.
And I love your point here about it being a big dinner, which is in some sense what, like that's, I mean, I've come to think of it as like that's the essential mitzvah. Like you haven't celebrated Thanksgiving unless you've had the meal. But otherwise, we don't have really unified, today in 21st century America, we don't really have unified rituals around Thanksgiving. There historically was one other piece. So of the universal ritual for Thanksgiving that has fallen by the wayside. So let's jump into the first Thanksgiving. We're getting to it. Yeah, it's setting us up. I'm building suspense here.
Can't let you get away with it.
Michael's excited.
And also, I think we're going to find actually that there is some innate meaning that we don't need to do a lot of gymnastics to bring it to our time. So, does anybody have a really good Washington impression? Yeah, George Washington. These things were all written, so it does not require a.
He superseded television.
He's asking someone to read it.
Yeah. All right. I'm happy. If anyone would like to read it, I'm also happy to read it, and I'm a little familiar. Yeah, exactly. Yep. And also, it's like funny punctuation, and I'm familiar with it. So. And I'm going to skip through it, but I'm going to. All right. Whereas it is the duty of all. So, sorry, 1789. What's happening?
Constitution.
All right. Yeah, brand new America, right? The war's been won, and there's a new constitution. There's a new union. It's been ratified, and Washington has been, for the first time, sworn in as president from the United States Capitol in. Anyone? New York. Yeah. All right. So Washington, there's a movement. Congress asks him to do this, and he eventually puts out this proclamation. Whereas it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and to humbly implore His protection and favor. And whereas both houses of Congress have made me do this, now therefore. Skipping to the next paragraph. Do I recommend and assign Thursday, the 26th of November next, to be devoted by the people of these states to the service of that great and glorious being, who is the beneficent author of all the good that was, that is, or that will be, that we may then all unite in rendering unto him our sincere and humble thanks for his kind care and protection of the people of this country previous to their becoming a nation, for the signal and manifold mercies and the favorable interpositions of his providence, which we experienced in the course and conclusion of the late war, that's the Revolutionary War, for the great degree of tranquility, union, and plenty which we have since enjoyed, for the peaceable and rational manner in which we've been able to establish constitutions of government for our safety and happiness. So constitutions there, I think, like it's telling that it's not the Constitution. He's referring to 14 constitutions and just sort of telling about, just how we understood what the Union of America was at the time. Establish constitutions of government for our safety and happiness, and particularly the national one now lately instituted, for the civil and religious liberty with which we are blessed, the means we have of acquiring and diffusing useful knowledge, and in general for all the great and various favors which he hath been pleased to confer upon us. And also, that we may then unite in most humbly offering our prayers and supplications to the great Lord and ruler of nations, and beseech him to pardon our national and other transgressions, to enable us all, whether in public or private stations, to perform our several and relative duties properly and punctually, to render our national government a blessing to all the people by constantly being a government of wise, just, and constitutional laws, discreetly and faithfully executed and obeyed, to protect and guide all sovereigns and nations, especially such as have shown kindness unto us, and so France, basically, and to bless them with good government, peace, and concord, to promote the knowledge and practice of true religion and virtue, and the increase of science among them and us, and generally to grant unto all mankind such a degree of temporal prosperity as he alone knows to be best. Okay, what?
Well said.
Yeah, say more. What do you like about it? What do you notice?
Well, it's not so much what I like about it. What I think he did was he's saying what he thinks the future should be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is a guy who didn't want to be a dictator.
Yeah.
Easily did. Unlike current. George Washington really is a good guy.
Yeah.
War hero.
So, I mean, what's not here? I mean, we talked about. I'm sorry. No sense for how to do it. The word thanks.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
there's one. It's there once.
we know what they're getting at, but it is.
Oh, sorry. I skipped over it. I'm sorry. In the what the Congress, the Joint Committee of Congress, yeah, to recommend to the people of the United States a day of public thanksgiving and prayer. I should not have skipped that. So sorry. So Congress passed this. It says they asked the president to proclaim or to recommend to the people of the United States a day of public thanksgiving and prayer to be observed by acknowledging with grateful hearts the many signal favors of Almighty God, and especially by affording them an opportunity peaceably to establish a form of government for their safety and happiness.
So it seems more like thank God we won this war, not thank God
Yeah.
that we survived the winter 100 years ago.
Yes, that's right. Thank God we won this war, and thus there's something else to it, right?
We'll have plenty and we'll have good government.
Yeah.
Not
See, there's, when I walk in New Jersey, I see a sign, this house belonged to a Tory and now it's someone else. So the country there's probably still a hell of a lot of people that wish, you know, back in the old days,
Yeah.
you know, when they had kings and everything else. He's trying to encourage the forces there.
Yeah.
It's all context.
Yeah.
What's happening at the time.
Right, and one of the interesting things here is, I mean, is Thanksgiving, as Washington is imagining it, is it a religious holiday, or is it, or not?
I'm not sure what's obvious, Washington being, it fell upon his shoulders to establish the presidency and establish the form of government the United States would have. And he makes that clear, to establish a form of government. He uses that phrase because at that time, the United States was not a world power. We were brand new,
Yeah.
new. You know, we had to establish ourselves. And that was Washington's role. You know.
Yeah. So form of government,
Groundwork for the presidency. Laid it down.
that's right. And so I'm hearing form of government is important here.
No Native American.
No mention of native, of natives.
Oh, they were savages.
Right, that's right.
There is, but you asked the question about prayer and spirituality, or you used a different word.
I said, is it a religious holiday?
And
Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like there was.
You say
There was
yes.
Lots of religious
Yeah.
aspects.
Actually, can we do a poll? Based on this, is Washington imagining a religious holiday? If you say yes, raise your hand.
Say it one more time, I couldn't hear you.
If based on what we've just read from Washington's proclamation, is he proclaiming a religious holiday?
Yeah.
So raise your hand if yes. Okay, I'm saying yes too.
Look how political it is.
Yeah,
We want to protect and guide all sovereigns and nations, quote, especially such as those shown kindness unto us.
Yeah.
France.
Yeah.
Screw you, England.
Yeah.
You know, he's basically saying, look, democracy didn't exist. He's basically saying, we have to now have a democracy here.
yeah.
So yeah, it's political.
But he's asking about religious.
But you're saying there you're saying it's political because it's not religious.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think
Prayer and supplication sounds like a compelling case
Yeah.
and providence and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mention what religion. It mentions God.
Yeah.
Asking for pardon. It doesn't quote.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, providence is certainly, like, there's some, like, Christian theological signals here, but it does not quote them or invoke them specifically.
Remember, people
You
were
have a-
against the Puritans. That Philadelphia was a
Yeah.
Quaker state. Rhode
Yeah.
Island was established. So there's
Maryland is Catholic, was Catholic.
and most of the founding fathers were deists.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So what religion are they going to do? You know,
Jake, it's interesting. You asked what's not here, and one of the things that's not here is dinner, right? Which is
Right.
what we all
That's right.
kind of referred to. And
The essential mitzvah.
And I'm thinking about in terms of like our holidays and like the mitzvot around these holidays that do have gratitude as part of them. And the Seder, though it has food elements that are symbolic for pedagogical ability for us to understand gratitude, the meal actually isn't a big part of the Seder either, right? We eat dinner because we're Jews and we're doing it around dinner time. But the eating of karpas and the eating of maror is not to satisfy your hunger, it's to pedagogically teach you
yeah.
how we felt as slaves and how we felt in freedom.
Yeah.
And then, what?
There's Shulchan Aruch.
No, I just said, there's like, there is dinner, but that it's not, that's not
No, it's
like,
one of the components.
Yeah.
right, but that's not, it's not a halachic component in terms of symbolism. And that's the same with Thanksgiving, it seems here, that without mentioning dinner, that there was a way in showing gratitude by bringing people together in these different ways, that then it seems probably turned into some kind of breaking bread together with those people as opposed to just in prayer with them in a synagogue or church, as it may be.
Does anybody know why we eat what we eat on Thanksgiving?
Only because you told me.
Kathy?
Well, it gets back to the symbolic, the food, and it gets back to the Native Americans. I mean, all the traditional foods on Thanksgiving are, indigenous to North America. Squash.
And New England in particular.
Squash, corn, turkey.
Yeah.
Pumpkin or squash. All,
Yeah.
everything we're supposed to eat is a Native American food. So it is all very highly symbolic.
And in that case, it's like you mean both capital N, capital A, and also lowercase n, capital A, right? These are Native American foods, right? So that is what you.
Yeah, and they were
Yeah.
in the myth shared by
Right.
Native American people
Right.
with the first colonists.
So to bring it back to our question about harvest and the land, again, it's not instructed here at our founding Thanksgiving document, but what we are eating when we're eating is specifically about here. Not here, it's about New England, but it's about American life. I want to come back to, though, it's not a religious holiday because it's a political holiday. Because I think we have lots of examples of things being both in our world, not just here. And so, exactly as you mentioned about context, what I can't help think is civil religion, right? Brand new country with no established church, which is groundbreaking, right? But how do you instill in people's hearts something, a citizenship, a kinship that's based on something else other than an established church? And so I think that this is sort of in some ways our first, one of our proto documents of like American civil religion, because I think this is explicitly a religious holiday and non-sectarian, right? Because it does serve political purposes, but it's saying America, we're all religious, even if we don't have an established church, and we're all monotheists, and we think that God is male, and however you worship that God, this is a day to do it because we share this gratitude for some of these things we've been talking about. We won the war. So the two things that I've heard that I think we've heard established most is won the war. Three things I'll say is won the war, form of government, and the sort of possibility of plenty, possibility of growth.
If it's supposed to provide a forced unification for the young country, why is it just the 26th day of November as opposed to every third Thursday in November, which is not?
Right. That's a great question. So, it's because it emerges in this tradition of one-off. There's not even a concept of annual Thanksgiving. It just emerges from this New England Protestant tradition of when you have some. It's not unfamiliar to our ancient traditions, like when you would have a fast day, right, because of something in the community. Not unfamiliar to to us, not just our ancient tradition, right? You have special appointed fast days, or you might have special appointed Thanksgiving days that commemorate specific events. It's a Suda. I mean, anyway. So there wasn't even an idea of making it permanent, and there was also, again, it's like the first Western country of its kind without an established religion. They don't even have the idea of a permanent holiday doesn't even exist yet in America, right? It's just this. And so what happens is the holiday sort of floats around, and it does often get observed around that time, but not at a presidential level. And in fact, so Washington did it not every year, but most years of his presidency, and then Adams, same, and then Jefferson objected because he thought it was a First Amendment issue. He thought that a national day of Thanksgiving was explicitly prohibited by the separation of church and state. So Jefferson refused to participate in Thanksgiving and refused to proclaim Thanksgiving for that reason. The holiday floated around until 1863, when Lincoln proclaimed two Thanksgivings in 1863. The first one, and that's the text that we have here, which I'm not going to read, but well, I'm gonna just read a couple of sentences. So this is from late July 1863. It has pleased Almighty God to hearken to the supplications and prayers of an afflicted people, and to vouchsafe to the Army and Navy victories on land and on sea, so signal and so effective as to furnish reasonable grounds for augmented confidence that the union of these states will be maintained, their constitution preserved, and their peace and prosperity permanently restored, etc., etc. Now therefore be it known that I do set apart Thursday, the 6th day of August next, to be observed as a day for national thanksgiving, praise, and prayer. And I invite the people of the United States to assemble on that occasion in their customary places of worship, and in the forms approved by their own consciences, render the homage due to the divine majesty for the wonderful things he has done in the nation's behalf, and invoke the influence of his Holy Spirit to subdue the anger which has produced and so long sustained a needless and cruel rebellion, to change hearts and minds, etc. Why do we think so? Okay, late July 1863. We've been talking about context. What do we think this is about? You want to be any yes? Civil War?
Emancipation Proclamation.
Not quite.
No, it's a victory that I'm trying to remember how the victory was.
Related to his most famous rhetoric. It was Gettysburg. Yeah. So this is the month of Gettysburg, of the Battle of Gettysburg, which was a Union victory, and there was a sense that it was going to build momentum. Yep. And so there was this day of Thanksgiving proclaimed. Now remember, only in the northern states, right? Because Lincoln says, the U.S.'s contention is that he's the president of all of the country, but at that point, lots of folks, only half the country recognizes him.
Remember also the symbols of the holiday presume a northern.
Yes, totally. It's like a northern orientation.
We moved to California from the East Coast, and we don't feel Christmas quite in the same way here because there's not the snow, not the onset of winter.
Yeah.
And all the stuff on television, indicates the snows, the wagons, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, sleigh rides. Yeah. So,
We find it's Christmas-like here.
as several Jews have written about for Broadway. So Lincoln here is doing something that Washington's doing too, right? Though, which is try to give us something to unite as a people, and also this is also, I think, overtly political, right? This is saying we're thankful for the Union victories in the Civil War. So he goes on in 1863 to then appoint a National Day of Thanksgiving in November that is very similar language. It's less specific about the recent military victories, but it's a lot of the sort of same. It's very Lincoln-y, and it's a lot of this. And basically, since then, presidents have proclaimed a national day of Thanksgiving every year. It's floated around a little bit, and in the 40s, this is a detour. But if someone wants to hear about it floating around and partisan divisions over the timing of Thanksgiving, I'm happy to chat about it after this. But I wanted to bring us to this idea. So we've talked about the feast, we've talked about presidential proclamation, and as Lincoln, we only have this one example here, but this language that he uses to assemble in their customary places of worship and in the forms approved by their consciences is characteristic of how many presidents have instructed Americans to observe. So that brings us to three components that I think of as the kind of ritual stakes, right? So one is a proclamation. The proclamation always invokes some sort of covenant, some sort of like the Constitution or the Declaration or like some sort of elevated, entity or idea that we as Americans are connected to, and then go worship in your house of prayer, and then feast. Those three things. So as we're wrapping up this session and heading into our Thanksgiving week, I'm wondering if we were to internalize the spirit of Thanksgiving as Washington and Lincoln imagined it, tossing out the myth of the great dinner and the first Thanksgiving, if we were to focus on these things, being gratitude for American life and for our forms of government, what would be Jewish ways? How should we as Jews respond to this call for Thanksgiving, to observe a day of Thanksgiving? There's no right answer. I'm just wondering, this comes back to exactly how Rabbi Schatz started this, because I've learned this history, and my answer is that I'm not always a daily minyan goer. I'm sometimes a minyan goer, but I'm after learning this history, that's what I do on Thanksgiving now. Thanksgiving morning for me always is gonna make sure I'm davening. What else do we think? And also, I'm trying to convince Rabbi Schatz that she should do. I don't look at the. I thought you said that Thanksgiving was specifically a morning you don't come.
Saturday.
Mm.
Goes on at my parents' house.
Got it.
It's interesting because in the Reconstructionist prayer book, there's a whole ritual for Thanksgiving
Ooh, I haven't seen that.
by Mordecai Kaplan and Ira Eisenstein,
The-
including the specific set of prayers for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Oh, really?
As they Americanized, the Reconstructionism was the deeply American.
Is it in the present Reconstructionist? In the current Reconstructionist Siddur?
In the original?
In the original, yeah.
In the
Okay.
original
I don't.
I haven't seen the current one.
Oh, okay. The current one I have on my shelf, and I didn't see that, so I'll have to.
In the original one, there's an entire
Okay.
ritual for
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, and I believe that in our Siddur, if I remember correctly, there may also be something for Thanksgiving.
Well, let's see. Yeah.
I think we should all go to Costco.
I mean, there's Hallel.
I think we're back somewhere at the end.
What's happened during the year, where were we last year,
Yeah.
what has happened since the last Thanksgiving, they kind of rethink what
Yeah. I mean, I think that.
happened over the year, and,
I think that's lovely, and I think that we don't need it
and both
in some sense.
Lincoln and Washington, they looked at where America was at the time, and we sometimes look at where our country is at the time. And
I mean, I think.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I think it'd be really nice if in terms of our own Jewish practice and the things that bring us together, I don't think that, I'm not trying to be, to dissuade people from the realistic, nature of having a dinner, but inviting people to that dinner who you really are grateful to have in your lives, and making it an opportunity to share in blessing not only over food, but to those people in a way that sometimes makes us feel uncomfortable because we're just not a people that necessarily go up to someone and say how grateful we are for another person. But then also treating it, I know that for me, Thanksgiving always feels so weird because it feels like Shabbat, but I can have my phone on the table. And I like to make it feel a little bit more like Shabbat, like creating rituals that could bring light into your home, that could bring the joy and the differentiation that Kiddush is supposed to bring into your home. Like coming up with those kinds of ritual actions that make it differentiated from just a regular dinner on a Monday.
So I've wondered, like, should there be a Thanksgiving Kiddush?
Should be a Thanksgiving.
Kiddush.
Yeah. Yeah, like we have festival, like, you know,
Yeah.
various festival Kiddush or Shabbat. I was also wondering, like, should we say Hallel on Thanksgiving? I think, yeah. I mean, I think yes. Like, I mean, this is, you know, not a fair. I mean, I'm inclined to think yes. This is a hypothesis. But it strikes me as like that's what, you know, when I read these presidential proclamations, and again, as I said, this Lincoln one, go to your own houses of worship and assemble as is customary, which is very characteristic of other presidential proclamations. I think, like, to me, that's I love what you're suggesting for how do we do it at the meal, and I'm also thinking like the instruction is go to your community as you always do and be thankful for America there. And so I also, you know, it strikes me, I'm wondering about what is it that we have that would be our customary or, you know, approved by our own consciences to celebrate on that day. And so I think, for instance, Hallel, which is not terribly exciting, but like is one of them. And that's what actually is here. I mean, like that's what, you know, they're just offering a psalm. I mean, it's not, you know, they're just offering a psalm here. Like there's not actually a separate prayer here. Although I'm going to look up. I was looking to see if I could find any Kaplan essays on Thanksgiving, and I didn't. But I'm going to. But
That they're also in the 50s and 60s, going as late as the 70s, there were Orthodox congregations, I stress Orthodox congregations in Manhattan that used to have an 11 a.m., not a service, an 11 a.m. Lecture and major address by some sort of classical American figure gathering in the synagogue because it was the only time, since it was not a prayer service directly, it was the only time that men and women sat in the synagogue together.
oh,
And that would happen at the Jewish Center, and it would happen at Kilat Jeshurun, the places that I knew had
Yeah.
that. But I
That's
imagine
interesting.
it was a larger
Yeah.
custom if it came to those places as well.
It was, and also another version of it was these sort of with these like you know, ecumenical, you know, like pan-religious gatherings. Like lots of cities would have like, you know, or you know, smaller cities would have like a citywide Thanksgiving ceremony that would bring together a bunch of different religious leaders to each sort of do a Thanksgiving prayer. Or actually, I was talking to, if anybody knows Rabbi Morris Panitz at ECAR, he was saying that growing up in, I think, Newport News, Virginia, at their synagogue, there was always a like community-wide service on Thanksgiving morning that invited everyone, not just Jews, to come be a part of explicitly, and that was explicitly part of it. And I don't know if that's still going, but that was customary well into the 20th century to have these kinds of gatherings in houses of worship on the morning of Thanksgiving. So I'm, you know, this has been lovely. I do want to just acknowledge that I printed out one other thing we're not reading, which I think is very cool. So I just invite everyone to take it home and take a peek at. This is from after Washington proclaimed that first day of Thanksgiving in 1789. A leader of Beth Shalom congregation in Richmond, Virginia, wrote this prayer for the Medina to be read in their synagogue on Thanksgiving morning. And so Medina is like state, the new state. So it's a prayer for our new state. And this is like the best preserved version of this, but there is evidence of many congregations throughout America responding to Washington's proclamation with prayers kind of like this.
I noticed that he's not rabbi.
His dad, son of a rabbi.
Almost good.
He's not rabbi because the first rabbi did not come to the United States
Yeah, exactly.
until the 19th century.
Right, so they heavily relied on the children of rab. So actually, I cut out the like signature at the bottom where he specifically says the son of the rabbi. I mean, like, in English, and I thought, like, American congregations heavily relied on folks, who had informal training for the first 100 years. Still.
Yasher Koach.
Thank you all.
Really, but just fascinating, and thank you for sharing it with us. Okay, we are going to do Birkat HaMazon. Does someone who ate bread want to lead us in a Zimun? Okay, Joey, great. Yeah, all right. Page 40-something, 7?
42 in the
42,
this book.
great.
And then the other book, if you draw on the left, it's on 47.
There you go.
Shir Hamalot B'Shuv Adonai Shivat Zion Hayinu Kecholami Agim Alei Satzot Binu Ushonenu Rina Agim Beruba Goyim Kigil Adonai Lasot Imele Kigil Adonai Lasot Imanu Hayinu Semeim Shuv Adonai Et Shevitenu Kafikim Ba'neged Hazorim Benima Berinai Zoru Halachelechu Vacho Nose Meshech Hazara Bo Yabo Berina Nose Alumotav Tzilat Adonai Yadaber Pi Varech Kol Basar Shin Kushel Lambad Va'anachnu Nevarech Yah Me'atav Yad Olam Hallelujah Odu Adonai Ki Tov Ki L'Olam Chasdo Mi Amalel Gevurot Adonai Shmiat Kol Tehilato Rabbatai Varech Yishem Adonai Varach Me'atav Yad Olam B'Yeshut Maran Rabbatai Nevarech Elohim Shech Al Mishalo Baruch Elohim Shech Al Mishalo Tubo Chayin Baruch Shemo Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Hazan et Haolam Kulo B'Tuvo B'Chein B'Chesed U'Rachamim U'Notein Lechem L'Chol Basar Ki L'Olam Chaso U'B'Tuvo HaGadol Tamid L'Chasar Lanu Ve'Yichsar Lanu Mazon L'Olam Va'ed Ba'avur Shemo HaGadol Ki L'Zan Farnes L'Akol U'Meitiv L'Akol U'Mechin Mazon L'Chol B'Riyas HaVasher Bara Baruch Atah Adonai Hazan et HaKol
All right, Yasher Koach, Joey. We are going to continue with Mariv on page 264. you're able to do so, please rise. Vehu rachum yechaper amaven lo yashchi ve'ibala shiva pavaler kol chamato Adonai Hoshia hamelech ya'anenu ve'yom korenu Baruchu et Adonai hamvorach Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed Baruch Adonai Avir yomu mevi lalo mavdil ben yomu vein laila Adonai tzvot shemo el chai v'kayam tamidim lachalenu le'olam va'ed Baruch ata Adonai amari v'ravim Ahavat olam beit Yisrael chav tatorah mitzvot chukim mishpatim Ve'ahavatecha al tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch ata Adonai ohev amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Adonai Elohechem emet v'min ha'kazal kayam v'nekenu 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 U'malchuto b'ratzon kiblu alehem Moshe v'nei Yisrael lechanu shira b'simcha rabba v'yamru chulam michamocha b'alim Adonai mikamocha nedar b'kodesh nora teilot osef ele malchutecha ra'u v'anecha b'koyayam lifnei Moshe ze'eli anu v'yamru Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar kifada Adonai et Yaakov u'galo miyad chazak mimenu Baruch ata Adonai gal Yisrael hashkivenu Adonai le'inu shalom Ushmor tzeitenu voinu lechaim u'shalom etave adolam Baruch ata Adonai shomer amo Yisrael la'ad Baruch Adonai l'olam amen v'amen Baruch Adonai metzon shechan shalom hallelujah Baruch Adonai Ki ha-malchut shelach hi uleom le'atim lach bechavod ki en lanu melech eleh ata baruch ata Adonai ha-melech b'chvado tamidim lach aleinu le'olam va'ed ve'al kol ma'asav yitgadal v'kadash merabah ve'amad divra kirtei v'amlich malchutei b'chayechonu yom echonu v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael b'agalav izman kari v'imru amen yehi shmer mevarach le'olam lamei amaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramah v'yinaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalel shmei dekudesha b'rechu Le'elam min kober chata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Page 270. If you've not yet finished your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We're on page 279. יתקדע ויקדש מרבה, בעמד דברה קרתי והמליך מלכותי בחיי חורם יום מכונם חיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמרה מברך לעולם לעמי המעיין, יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירנה בעלמה ואמרו אמן. והנה אדוני אלוהינו עלינו מעשה ידינו כוננה עלינו, מעשה ידינו כוננה היום בצל שדי תנענמה. יקרא עיני ועיניהו עמו אנוכי וצרח חצי ואכבדהו אורחמים אסביהו וראו בשועתי אורחמים אסביהו וראו בשועתי. page 216. ואתה קדוש יושב תהילות ישראל וקרא זה אל זה ואמר קדוש הצבא מלך הארץ כבודו מקבלים תמיד. Thank you. ותישאין היא רוח ושמע אחרי קורש גדול ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ויפתחו וחיודי שמך כי לא עזבת דורשך אדוני, אדוני חפץ למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידיר. page 280. יתגדל ויתקדש מרבה, בעלמא דברה קרתי והמליך מלכותי בחיי חורם ויום מכונם חיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמרה מברך לעולם לעמי המעיין, יתברך וישתבח ויתבר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירנה בעלמא ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלת ההון ובתהון דכל ישראל קודם והון דבי שמיה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום מרמיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל לתת כלל לצבר של הסמים. ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Mourner's Kaddish, page 282. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה קרתי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם לעמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמא ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו amen. All right, Yasher Koach, again to Jake. We are going to do Havdalah. If someone wants to hit the... Oh, thanks, Seth. Okay. Havdalah is always going to happen on this table now. So if I'm not here and someone starts to do Havdalah over here, tell them absolutely not unless they want to build another table for us. Always going to happen not there now.
Great. You want to keep that one nice.
I'm going to keep it wax-free.
That's great.
Maybe the people who want to cover have a point.
No, because then the cover gets waxy.
Great.
Ya na 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 na. Hinei el Yeshuati. Heftach velo evchad. Ki ozi vezimratya. Adonai vayehi li lishua. Ushaftem ma'im esasod. Mimanei ha-Yeshua. L'Adonai ha-Yeshua. Alamcha v'chatecha sela. Adonai tzevaot. Imanu. Miskav lanu. Elohei Yaakov sela. Adonai tzevaot. Ashrei Adam boteach bach. Adonai Hoshia, HaMelech Anenu v'Yom Koreinu LaYehudim Hayta Ora V'Simcha V'Sason V'Yikar Elanu Kosi Yeshuotesa Uv'Shem Adonai Yekra Yainanai, 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 Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei vesamim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei mirei ha'esh. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamavdil ben kodesh lechol ben or lechoshech ben Yisrael le'amim ben yom hashvihi le'sheshet yamei hamaseh. Baruch atah Adonai hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. Chatoteinu imcho. Zareinu vech. Thank you. Beyar bekacho vekakochavim bala la zareinu vechaspe beyar bekacho. Sorry, yeah, we don't do it. Let's not do it. La Shavua Tov, because I drank out of it. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov. Shavua Tov, Shavua Tov, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu Agiladi, Bimhera ve'yameinu, Yavo Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. See you next week, and happy Thanksgiving in anticipation.
Okay. You're welcome.
Let's use the utensils, not our hands.
Yeah.
Let's use the utensils, not our hands. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
They're a little bit sad that the Shabbat is ending.
So these proclamations which are given annually mention specific days,
Days is different too.
but the president is by law, by an act of Congress, bound to do it on the fourth Thursday of the month. And so when I reference this political disagreement, originally it was always the last Thursday of November, but sometime in every certain number of years, there are 5 Thursdays in November. And during the Great Depression, Roosevelt wanted the extra. Everyone was much more focused on, Christmas shopping season starts after Thanksgiving, and so
so if one is